Once again, I'm going to prove there was a time when punching holes in your computer diskettes wasn't vandalism. It was actually an upgrade. And I'm going to show you how you can make your phone line sound like it was possessed. Welcome back to the 80s.
Vintage gaming memories.
Alright, you gotta check this out. Who would ever think of shipping something like this? It has all dirt inside here, tons of ladybugs, dead, of course, but inside the bag. Couldn't even shake it out before you ziplocked it. Cannot believe it. That is crazy. Look at this. Oh, unbelievable. All right, look at that. Seriously, wow. I'm hoping it's just these ladybugs or Asian beetles that's in this baggie, and probably most likely it's fully inside the modem case as well. I don't see any rodent droppings or cockroaches in the mix, thankfully, but it's kind of hard to tell with the dust and dirt mixed up. I think what I'm going to end up doing is taking this outside and open it up and then air blow it out. I'll be sure to capture that on video. In order for me to open this up, I'll have to heat up these rubber footings and then remove them to get to the screws. Well, here they all are. So this is going to be a very interesting video, as you could tell by the unboxing. I've never seen anything like that before in the 27 years of eBay purchasing. That was just crazy. But anyways, we have here 2 disc notchers and 2 modems from 3 different sellers, one for each of the disc notchers, and then the 2 modems came from a seller. Now, after I sped through the opening of the packages, I just remembered that I wanted to show you all something on those packages. Thanks to the editing I'll be doing when I'm done, I can paste some images for you to see. You'll notice that all 3 packages arrived last year and were unopened for some time. The disc notchers have been here for about 9 to 10 months, and the modems for about a little bit over a year and a half. Now, before I go further with these items, I'm going to go and work smarter and not harder and give you all a quick recap as to how these disc notchers work by pulling a clip from a previous video. This is a bunch of diskette doublers, or I guess you can call it diskette notchers, or even disc coupler, or just diskette punchers, whatever you want to call them. These tools were one of the great hacks that we had back in the 1980s, which gave us double the media space to save our computer files to. So basically it allowed us to use the back side of the diskette. When you punch a hole on the one side, you can then use the other side to save files onto it. So yeah, you pretty much end up doubling your media space. No longer did you only have one side to save it. You could flip it over, insert it into your disk drive, and continue to copy and save files onto the other side. Well, here's my current collection as of now. That also includes the 2 that are being featured in this video, which is the box for disc doubler, and it's the one that's right here that was inside of it. And then this other one, it's a plastic disc notcher in a lighter blue color. Now for me, collecting these is all about the memories that they bring back. Now I also think it's pretty amazing that so many have managed to survive for nearly 40 years. I haven't come across any new or unique ones from that era lately, so I'm beginning to wonder if they just finally dried up. If you ever run across one that's different from any of these, please let me know because I might be really interested in purchasing it. Oh, and to one of the awesome viewers of the channel, Hound Doggy 33, I haven't forgot about you. I'm still trying to track down the duplicate Meadow Jasco one that's just like this one over here. As soon as I find it, you'll be the first to know. One interesting mystery with this collection is the one I just received, which has got the EMCO printed on the notcher itself. Now, despite digging through old computer magazines, looking at some patents and advertisements, I couldn't find any evidence of what EMCO actually stood for. Comment down below if anyone recalls the origin of that name, because that would be great to know. So now I just need to get these two clean and polished, and then we can get it back to the collection on the shelf and go from there. Well, that was pretty quick and easy to clean both of these and polish them. Not hard to do it when they're that small, and it's pretty well maintained. So you can see the nice glare off of this one, bottom as well. And then this one here looks great. Nothing to complain about. Actually, this is a I don't know, Tai-Ha-Ho, which I have a few of these as far as the name brand goes. But before we go ahead and put this back on the shelf, let's make sure these work. And we're going to test it with an existing diskette. We'll use this one. It's got a hole already punched out or notched out here, but it's curved, and I want it more squared. So we'll use this one first. I'm going to put it on the top here and just push it in, push down. It should make a nice squared notch instead of a curved. Let's see if this overlaps the previous hole punch that was there. You can see it did square the top, but the bottom has that curve from the previous hole punch. The good thing is that this notcher will always get it in the right spot and never have you guessing where to put it. Here is the excess part. So that looks good. Now let's try out the other one. And I have another floppy here that has a curved hole punch. So we're going to try to square that one off. I'm just doing this as an example because I really don't have too many floppies that don't have a notch punched out already. So that's why we're doing it with the existing ones with already a hole punched. We just make sure it's squared to the corner. And then I just need to apply a little pressure on top. And there we go. This one's a little bit better. Looks like the hole was punched a little bit on the high end with the original hole puncher. And here's the piece that I punched out. So these work great. I would say that these passed the test, so they are in working condition. I will put these all back on my display shelf. Oh, you know what? Let me check out the box before I do that. It has a very generic name of disk doubler on it. Save money by doubling your diskette storage space. And it states that it can be used with all types of computer systems, all your Apples, Franklin, Atari, and Commodore. Just by looking at all the Apple models that it lists, the latest would be the 2C, which came out in 1984, and there's no reference to the various models for the Atari or the Commodore. So I'm guessing this is probably from around 1984 and 1985. Pretty basic box, and really no need for instructions either. Would definitely love to see some additional colors to the collection, but I would want it to be original. So I don't know if there's any other companies that were putting these out back in the 80s that would have a different color to their disc notchers for marketing purposes. As you can see, the Suncom ones, and then the Kraft, and then the Jasco, and of course the hole puncher one, which is really cool and unique. There's a video on this one too, actually on both of them. Check that out if you have a chance. I'll put a link on the top here. This is my collection so far, so let me know what you guys think on that. Let me clear this away, and now we're going to take a look at those modems that I picked up. That should be fun. All right, we are outside, and let's take a look and see what nastiness lies underneath. But I'll have to remove all these rubber footings, and you can already see a bunch of crap coming off the side. A bunch of bug shells. All right, well, let me go heat these up and pull these back and see what's underneath. All three of the rubber footings that were still on there are now removed. I could reuse them. Let's take these screws off the bottom. All right, here we go. Nice nest of, I guess, pretty much ladybugs. Just going to dump that out and just take a close look to see if there's any damage, which I don't think there should be any. Those bugs shouldn't do any damage. Here we go for some more. A lot more. Dump that out. I think with this one I'm going to soak it in water. Should be really no harm to it except for the sticker on back, but maybe I'll just rinse it on the top side of it and keep it dry on the bottom. But we'll get all that stuff out pretty easily. And probably the same concept with the top part. Really nothing there. It's got stickers on it, so it shouldn't have any harm. But I'll do that. Alright, here's where I'm at with this bug-infested modem that is now fully cleaned. I scrubbed and soaked the case, and I also gave the PCB a nice wash with a nylon brush, some dish soap, and distilled water. Circuit-wise, I don't see anything concerning. It looks pretty good. Now, I don't have the AC adapter for this particular modem, and I guess I could probably find one that would work, but I'm not really interested in testing it for this video. What I really want to do is look at the other one, but first let's take care of this one, put this all back together again. But first, let me tell you what I do know about this modem. It is a CTS Datacomm model 2424ADH. It's an external modem, obviously. It's probably a, I don't know, late 1980s model. The max baud rate is 2400. And just by looking at the board here, we can see that on the side, we have the typical RJ11 jacks. You've got one for your line in and then for your telephone. And then on the back side, we have an RS-232 serial port. Connect that to an interface and then to your PC. And there's a nice spring button here. It's a spring-loaded button for your power on and off. And that's about it for the back side, except for the adapter that you'd plug in right over here. Let's check out the front, where we have 8 indicator lights. And actually, let's look at the case, because it's got some letterings on there. A little bit easier for me to decipher. So starting from the left to right, we have SQ, which is signal quality. Then we have MR, which is modem ready. We have CD, carrier detect. HS, that's high speed. Probably lights up when it's at 2400 baud. And then it probably doesn't light up when it's connected at 300 or 1200 baud. And then we have RI, that's ring indicator. So when a telephone line is ringing, that probably will flash. Then we have TR, terminal ready. And OH, that's off hook. And last but not least, the PW, which is your power light. So when it's turned on, that should illuminate. That's pretty much it from what I can see with this modem. Everything turned out okay after scrubbing it, blowing it out. I didn't do any polishing yet, but I'll do that next. So I'm going to put this all back together, polish it up, and see how this turns out. But for now, I mean, it didn't turn out too bad. Here's the back. You can see the serial number. All right, I'll be back in a second, and we'll see how this looks when it's all put back together again. All right, let's check this out. I put it all back together, and I did do some polishing on it with some Novus 1 for the plastic. I was able to get this ink blot a little less noticeable. Everything else turned out pretty good on the plastic. It feels great. It feels like it's, well, I don't know how to describe plastic feeling new, but it feels really nice and clean. And it does look clean. Nothing's coming out the sides anymore. The reason why I have this modem isn't because I wanted that modem. It's because it came as a bundle. And the modem I really wanted was this one here. So I've gone ahead and taken that one apart and started looking on the insides as well. And this is the Avatex 1200. The case could use some polishing and cleaning. I'm sure I can get this to look a little bit more natural. I just haven't done that yet. All I've done so far is open it up, clean the inside. Definitely was not as bad as the Datacomm one, but there was a few bugs in there. Other than that, this one should work from what I recall. I think the listing had this one noted as the lights work, but wasn't fully tested. So it does get power through the AC adapter, which I do have with this one. I have to clean that up. But let me go ahead and finish this one up and show you how it looks when it's all done. And then we'll power that one up and see if it works. I'll be back in 1 second. I did my best to get this looking a little bit better. The top, you can still see that blemish right in the middle here. I cleaned it and I polished it with the Novus 1 product, and it looks a little bit better, but it's not completely blended in, so you can notice it. However, on the sides, that turned out pretty nice, as well as the front and the bottom and the back. So not too bad. Since we're looking at the back, let's just cover some of the features of this particular modem. On the right-hand side here, we have this long, hardwired telephone cord. This would typically be plugged into your wall for your phone line. And then to the left of that, we have this RJ11 jack. This is where you can plug your telephone into so you can answer calls when necessary. And then we have the RS-232 connection. In my setup, I'd probably have this connected into my Atari 850 interface, and then from there it'd be connected to the Atari computer. To the left of that, we have this AC adapter that you plug into for the power. And then to the left of that, we have 8 dip switches. Now, the dip switches, what they do is they allow you to configure your modem to your liking. So, for example, maybe perhaps one of these switches here would allow you to have your modem set up to have auto answer turned on or off. Or maybe one would display or echo the AT commands back to the computer. I can only assume what these would do since I don't have the manual and it's not universal for all these modems. But what I can tell you is if the position of the switch is in the down position, like number 6 is, that would mean it's turned on. And if it's up, that would be the off position. So that's all I can say for this, and that's all right for now. Let's check out the front and see what else we have to look at. So we have here some display indicators, pretty common with these modems. From the left side, we have a power light, TR for terminal ready, SD for send data, RD receive data, HS high speed, MC modem carrier, TM test mode, and RI ring indicator. Then we have to the right of that 3 buttons here. These are push buttons. The one on the left is the push button to toggle between data and voice. And then to the right of that, we have one for the baud rate. You can go between 300 or 1200. And then finally, we have the power on and off button. And here is the other Avatex modem that I have, which is exactly the one I owned when I was a kid back in the 80s. And I ran my Atari BBS on it. This one is the Avatex 1200HC. The HC stands for Hayes Compatible. And there are subtle differences between this one and that one I just received here. Besides the HC, on the bottom here we have a speaker. And there is a control knob for the volume. Pretty different. You got to lift it up to control the volume if you don't want it to be too loud, or if you want just to have it kind of muted. Another big difference with this is the HC part, the Hayes compatibility. So back in the day, being Hayes compatible made a big difference with software. That actually became the industry standard at that time, so you always would look for HC or something that would say it was Hayes compatible, so you wouldn't run into any issues with some software that you're using. So that was nice to know that this is Hayes compatible. All right, enough of that modem. Let's get back to the one I just purchased. And let me mention one more thing with this, and that is the seller also provided this AC adapter. Well, I'm not certain if this is the exact adapter that came with this Avatex modem, because it doesn't have anything marked on here that says Avatex. They probably use a generic AC adapter. But what I do know is that this one is a 12-volt AC plug-in transformer. And you can see there it has a max milliamp of 830. So since there wasn't any power specifications labeled on the modem case itself, I just found a box version of the Avatex 1200HC online, and then I looked at the adapter specs that was listed. And fortunately, they are the same, along with a generic adapter name that's on it. So I'm pretty confident this will work out just fine. Only thing left to do now is to see if this really works. So I'm going to plug this in and check it out and see if we get any lights to come on. And then maybe we'll try changing some of the dip switch settings to see if that makes a difference as well. Okay, the AC adapter is now plugged in and it is connected to the back, as you can see. So we are ready to go. We'll keep the setting on data, 1200 baud. Again, not like we're going to be transmitting anyways, but let's see what lights shine up on here when I press the power on. All right, we have the power light lit up, which is great. Terminal ready, that looks good. And then we have the modem carrier light on, so that's awesome. I wouldn't expect the other ones because SD, send data, receive data, high speed, and ring indicator. TM, we might be able to turn that one on, but those other four, you would probably see those on when you're connected or maybe doing some transmissions, because obviously we're not connected to anything, just plugged in. So let's try playing with those dip switches in the back, turning some on since only one is really on. And I think I'm going to do it with the power turned off, which is the right way to doing it. I think you can do it while it's turned on. I'm sure it's not going to cause any damage to the hardware. But what I was taught back in the day is that with these modems, being that they're older too, if you turn and change one of these switches, turn it on or off, it probably wouldn't take effect unless you cycle through the power or have a reset button. And really, turning this thing off and turning it back on takes a second, so why not just do that to be safe? So I'll turn it off and get a screwdriver, and we'll just change some of the settings here. Again, I have no idea which these settings are for, but I'll just put 2 and 3 down so they're turned on. So 2 and 3 are on along with 6. And let's turn this back on and see if it makes a difference. All right, there we go. Now we have test mode turned on. Again, I don't think the other 4 that are not lit will ever light up unless I go ahead and connect this, because you'd have to have either a call come in for the ring indicator light to show, and then transmitting data would be for the other 3, whether you're transmitting it or receiving it. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see anything else. But that's okay. I think this looks, well, look, there we go. I just saw the SD and RD toggle on and off for a second when I was changing the data to voice. Let's see if I can do that again. There we go. So I do know these light up, which is great. Well, here's the last test I think I'll do with this modem. I brought it upstairs into my office, and I have it connected into my phone line. So it is ready to go, and I wanted to see what would happen if I call my house, which I think this should auto answer because of the settings on it. So let's turn this on. And we still have the same 4 lights that lit up before because I didn't touch the dip switch settings. And now I'm just going to call the house and see what happens. So I just put this off speaker so I can talk. But I think if I toggle the data voice on and off, it probably will hang up the call. And it did. So this works great. It does the auto answer pickup. All the lights seem to work. I'm sure the transmission of this modem going back and forth with data will be just fine. As far as I'm concerned, this is a working modem, and it's now added to the collection. This is the Avatex 1200 external modem. I'm guessing it came out probably in the mid-1980s. And this is the CTS Datacomm 2424 ADH modem, which probably came out around the same time as well. But if anybody has details on this particular generic modem, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear more about it. That's pretty much it for this video. Got myself a couple more disc notchers and a couple other modems to put in the collection. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate your time. And until next time, keep that gaming passion from the past alive by living it today. Take care, everyone.